abstract, accompany, accumulate, accurate, acknowledge, acquire, adapt, adequate, adjacent, advocate, aesthetic, affluent, aggregate, alleviate, allocate, ambiguous, amend, analogous, analyze, anecdote, anticipate, apparent, applicable, appreciate, apprehensive, appropriate, approximate, arbitrary, articulate, aspect, assemble, assess, assign, assimilate, assume, assure, astonish, attain, attribute, authentic, authorize, autonomous, available, aware, barrier, beneficial, bias, bizarre, blatant, boast, bolster, brevity, bureaucracy, candid, capacity, catastrophe, caution, cease, censure, chaos, circumstance, cite, clarify, coherent, coincide, collaborate, collapse, commence, commend, commit, commodity, compensate, competent, compile, complement, comprehensive, compromise, conceive, concentrate, concise, concurrent, condemn, confer, confine, conform, confront, congregate, conjecture, conscientious, consecutive, consensus, conserve, considerable, consistent, consolidate, conspicuous, constitute, constrain, construct, consult, consume, contemplate, contend, contradict, contribute, controversy, convene, converge, convey, convict, convince, cooperate, coordinate, correlate, corroborate, corrupt, counteract, credible, criteria, crucial, culminate, cumulative, curtail, cynical, debilitate, deceive, decipher, decline, deficiency, definitive, degrade, deliberate, delineate, demonstrate, denounce, depict, deplete, deplore, deprive, derivative, derive, designate, desolate, detain, deteriorate, devastate, deviate, differentiate, dignity, diligent, diminish, diplomatic, disclose, discreet, discrepancy, discriminate, disguise, disillusion, disintegrate, dismantle, disparity, disperse, dispose, disrupt, dissent, dissipate, distort, diverse, divert, docile, dominate, dormant, drastic, duplicate, dynamic, eccentric, elaborate, elapse, illicit, eliminate, eloquent, elusive, embark, eminent, empathy, emphasize, empirical, endorse, endow, endure, enhance, enlighten, enlist, enrich, entail, entice, envision, eradicate, erode, erratic, escalate, esteem, estrange, evaluate, evoke, exacerbate, exceed, excel, exceptional, excess, exclude, execute, exemplify, exempt, exert, exhaust, exhilarate, exile, exotic, expand, expedite, exploit, expose, expound, extend, extensive, extinguish, extravagant, facilitate, fallacy, famine, feasible, feat, feign, fidelity, fierce, figurative, finite, flamboyant, flaw, fluctuate, foreshadow, formidable, fortify, foster, fragile, fragrant, frantic, fraud, friction, frivolous, frustrate, fulfill, fundamental, feudal, generate, generous, genetic, genuine, gigantic, glamorous, glorify, gratify, gravity, gregarious, grievance, grieve, grim, grotesque, guarantee, haphazard, harass, harbor, harmonious, hasten, haughty, hazardous, heritage, hierarchy, hinder, hoax, hostile, humble, humiliate, hypocrisy, hypothetical, iconic, idiosyncratic, illicit, illuminate, illusory, imbalance, immaculate, immense, imminent, impartial, impede, imperative, implement, implicate, implicit, impose, improvise, incentive, incessant, incite, incline, incoherent, incompatible, incompetent, incomplete, inconclusive, inconsistent, inconvenient, incorporate, indifferent, indigenous, indignant, indispensable, induce, inevitable, inference, inferior, infiltrate, influential, ingenious, inhabit, inhibit, initial, initiate, innate, innocuous, innovation, insight, insist, inspect, inspire, install, integrate, integrity, intensify, interact, intercept, interim, intermittent, interpret, intervene, intimidate, intricate, invalidate, invariably, invasive, inventory, investigate, invoke, involve, ironic, irrelevant, irrigate, isolate, issue, jeopardize, juncture, keen, laborious, ladder, laud, launch, lavish, legitimate, lethal, leverage, liaison, liberate, likelihood, limitation, linguistic, literal, literate, lucrative, luminous, maintain, malicious, mandatory, manifest, manipulate, marginal, massive, mediate, melancholy, meticulous, migrate, militant, milestone, minimize, mingle, miraculous, misconception, mitigate, mobilize, moderate, modest, modify, momentum, monetary, monotonous, morale, morbid, mundane, mutual, myth, naive, negligent, negotiate, neutral, nominal, nonchalant, notable, notorious, novel, nullify, objective, obscure, obsolete, obstacle, obstruct, obtain, obvious, occupy, occur, odyssey, offend, omit, ongoing, opaque, optimal, optimistic, option, ornate, ostensibly, outcome, outdated, outgoing, outlook, output, outstanding, overcome, overlap, overlook, oversee, overt, overwhelm, paradox, parallel, parameter, partially, participate, partisan, passive, patent, path, pathetic, patron, peak, peculiar, penalty, perceive, perennial, perfect, peripheral, permanent, permeate, perplex, persist, perspective, persuade, pessimistic, phenomenon, philosophy, pioneer, pitfall, plausible, plight, pointless, policy, portion, portray, pose, positive, postpone, potential, practical, proceed, precise, predator, predict, predominant, prejudice, preliminary, premise, prescribe, preserve, preside, pressing, prestige, presume, prevail, prevent, primary, prime, primitive, prior, priority, probe, proceed, proclaim, procure, profound, prohibit, project, prolific, prolong, prominent, promote, prompt, prone, propaganda, propel, proponent, proportion, prospect, prosper, provoke, proximity, prudent, psychology, publicize, pursue, quaint, qualify, quarantine, quarry, query, quintessential, quiver, quota, radiant, radical, rationale, rationalize, ravage, reactionary, readily, realize, reassure, rebel, rebuke, recede, receptive, reckless, reclaim, recognize, reconcile, recruit, rectify, redeem, reduce, refer, refine, reflect, refrain, refuge, refute, regain, regime, regulate, reinforce, reject, rejoice, relapse, relentless, relevant, relinquish, reluctant, rely, remarkable, remedy, reminiscent, remorse, remote, remove, render, renounce, renovate, renowned, repatriate, repel, repercussion, replenish, replica, replicate, repress, reprimand, reproach, reproduce, repudiate, reputable, request, require, rescind, resent, reside, residual, resign, resilient, resist, resolve, resonate, resourceful, respect, respiration, restrain, restrict, resume, resurrect, retain, retaliate, retard, retention, retract, retrieve, reveal, revere, reverse, revert, revise, revitalize, revive, revoke, revolutionize, rigid, rigorous, riot, risky, rival, robust, rotate, rough, routine, rudimentary, ruthless, sacrifice, salient, salvage, sanction, sarcastic, saturate, savvy, scandal, scarce, scatter, scope, scramble, scrutiny, secluded, secure, sedentary, seek, seize, selective, self-sufficient, semantic, semblance, separate, sequence, serene, severe, shallow, shatter, sheer, shrewd, shrug, significant, simulate, simultaneous, skeptical, sluggish, sore, solicit, solitary, sophisticated, sorrow, span, specify, specimen, spectacle, spectrum, speculate, spontaneous, sporadic, spotlight, spurious, squalid, squeeze, stagnant, stamina, stark, startle, static, steadfast, stimulate, stipulate, strenuous, strict, strive, stubborn, stumble, sturdy, subdue, subjective, submerge, submit, subordinate, subsequent, subside, substantial, substitute, subtle, succeed, succumb, sufficient, suit, summon, superficial, superfluous, supplant, suppress, surpass, surplus, surrender, surveillance, susceptible, sustain, symbolize, synchronize, synthetic, tacit, tangible, tantalize, task, taunt, tedious, temperament, temporal, terminate, terrain, terse, testify, theory, thrive, timid, tolerate, topple, torment, trace, trajectory, tranquil, transcend, transition, transmit, transparent, treacherous, treat, tremendous, trigger, trivial, tumult, turbulent, typical, ultimate, unanimous, undermine, underscore, undertake, unequivocal, unfold, uniform, unify, unprecedented, unravel, unveil, uphold, utilize, utmost, vacant, vague, valid, vanish, variable, variety, vast, veer, vegetation, vehement, velocity, venture, verdict, verify, versatile, veto, viable, vibrant, vice, vicinity, vicious, vigilant, vigor, violate, virtual, virtue, visible, vital, vivid, vocation, void, volatile, volunteer, vulnerable, warrant, wane, warp, weary, wholesome, widespread, willing, withstand, witty, woe, worship, wrath, yield, seal, zenith, zest, zoom, absorb, abundant, access, accomplish, accumulate, accurate, acquisition, adapt, adequate, adjacent, advocate, aesthetic, affluent, aggregate, alleviate, allocate, ambiguous, amplify, analogous, analyze, anecdote, anomaly, anticipate, apparent, apprehend, appropriate, arbitrary, articulate, aspect, aspire, assess, assign, assimilate, assumption, attain, attribute, authentic, authorize, autonomous, avenue, averse, belie, benevolent, bizarre, boast, bold, brevity, calculate, candid, catalyst, caustic, seed, censor, chronicle, circumvent, clandestine, coalesce, coerce, coherent, collaborate, collide, commence, commend, commensurate, compel, compensate, compile, complacent, complement, comprehensive, concede, conceive, concise, concur, condemn, condone, confer, confine, conform, congenial, conjecture, conjure, consecutive, consensus, conserve, consolidate, conspicuous, constituent, constrain, contemplate, contend, contingent, contract, contradict, contrive, convene, converge, convey, convict, convoluted, correlate, corroborate, cosmopolitan, credible, criterion, culminate, cursory, curtail, cynical, dearth, debase, debunk, decipher, deficient, definitive, degrade, deleterious, delineate, demagogue, demise, denounce, deplete, deplore, deprecate, deride, desecrate, desolate, destitute, deter, detrimental, devious, diffident, diligent, diminutive, discrepancy, disdain, disparage, disparate, dispel, disrepute, dissent, dissuade, divergent, divisive, dogmatic, dubious, duplicity, ebullient, eclectic, efficacious, effusive, egregious, elated, illicit,